Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Calhoun's. Next week, as we mentioned, Tennessee will be traveling to Florida for a noon kickoff. You're going to have folks over to watch it. You know you are. Let Calhoun's do the cooking. Pick up a Feed 5 or Feed 10 family pack. Comes in a box. You get the ribs or the barbecue, all the sides. You get the utensils, the sauces, it's everything you could possibly want. It's just like being at Calhoun's, except it's right there in your living room. So you are going to be the hit of your own party. Calhoun's, the taste of Tennessee, perfect for watching the UT Florida game next week. And if things don't go well, at least you'll have eaten well. All right, this is our Hot Read segment. We do this every week. 2 questions, one for each pairing here on the set. And let me introduce the new guys to the set here today. Bob Hodge, longtime Knoxville sports writer. Longtime Knoxville sports writer Chuck Cavaleris down there, 2 of the original members of the Sports Source since way back in 2003. Thanks for being here, guys. I'm going to start with Bob and Will. When Tennessee has the ball, all right, against Florida's defense, can Guarantano get the ball out on time? Can Tennessee's offensive line protect him against what is the #1 pass rush in America? 16 sacks in 3 games. That's like 3 more sacks than anybody else in the country already. And are there any other things that stick out as big question marks? But Tennessee's offense versus Florida's defense.
Guarantano getting the ball out on time. I mean, we'll see what he does, see if he can get better. But as far as the protection goes, I just don't see where it comes from. They've got 16 sacks. I think they only had 1 last night against Kentucky.
15 the first 2 games.
And Kentucky's offensive line just passed the eye test last night. That looked like a really good group. I haven't seen that from Tennessee. So getting the ball out on time, we'll see. I think he's going to just have to get it out as quick and as fast as he possibly can. Because I just don't see Tennessee's offensive line playing like Kentucky's did.
Third long is not your friend in this game at all because you're going to have guys that are pinning their ears back, and they're going to be looking and going, well, we got a couple of freshmen out here. Going up against a guy that may get drafted in the early rounds, he's going to be licking his chops saying, time to set the day and get an All-American day out.
Which they did against Miami's freshman. Miami had a freshman on the offensive line that they annihilated play after play in that season opener. All right, so anything else stand the line, Guarantano, is there anything else you're worried about in terms of Tennessee's offense? What about Tennessee running the football?
Well, that's the question. Tennessee's been good right now in the last couple of games running off to the edges. That runs into the teeth of what Florida does well. Florida's got 2 really good defensive ends. They're not only good at pass rush, they're good on the run. You've got Rainey, I think his name, 33 in the middle. He clearly showed the ability to go from sideline to sideline. Once he sees it, he's gone, and he can get there and get you in the backfield, not just get you at the line of scrimmage. And then you got their DBs and everybody. So they've got a lot of speed. Running to the edges is going to be difficult this game. If you can't show some upside, inside the middle, and keep them honest, they're going to be pinned out, and everything's going to be about guarding those edges.
Florida's going to be without their starting safety for the first half of that game after it was moved for targeting last night. How much of an impact that will be will yet to be remembered.
Hopefully it'll have an impact. I don't know if you can get to safety level.
Wow. You obviously were swayed by Chattanooga. All right, let's go down there and let's flip it. Chuck and Jimmy. When Florida has the ball, Tennessee on defense. Tennessee lined up correctly yesterday. You didn't see them calling a lot of timeouts to get people on and off the field. That's against Chattanooga at home with a quiet crowd. I've seen people say 75,000. You're the master oracle. 55, 60?
55 to 60. There weren't 75.
I still congratulate the 55 or 60 who went, but I'm tired of seeing people lie. And I'm not talking about UT. They always put up an inflated number. That's what all schools do. Yeah. But media guys shouldn't be carrying water. When you talk about lining up properly, it's one thing to do it at UT. It's another thing to do it in the swamp. Also, you get the quarterback change. You mentioned it in the first segment. Chuck, does that help Tennessee that they've got a new guy that's not their starter, or does that hurt Tennessee because they haven't seen this guy?
Well, I think it hurts you because, I mean, what are you going to study on film? I mean, the guy's been a backup, right? So, and he's 6'5", 240. He's, redshirt junior. He's been in the program, and he came in and was making throws right off the bat against Kentucky. So, I mean, I think he may even be more of a problem for you than Felipe Franks would have been.
Talking to Sterling Hinton off air, he came in and said, well, Franks is going to give you 1, maybe 2 every game. You don't know that about Trask. Franks was a guy who will throw one to you.
Well, and here's the thing about Trask that the folks at Florida that I've talked to have said. one, he's a better passer than Franks, and secondly, a better decision maker. Because you're right, Franks was going to give you, he gave one to Miami late, right? So he is going to make, Franks would make some decisions that you would scratch your head about that could backfire. Trask does a better job of ball security. Again, a very accurate passer. He looked very comfortable in what he was doing. He knows that system. And I think Florida's got a lot of good receivers, not just Jefferson had a big game against Kentucky. They've got some other pretty good receivers as well.
And John, real quick, my concern with Dan Mullen calling the plays, if Florida goes up tempo and you're in the swamp, I think that could pose a lot of problems for Tennessee when you've already had problems getting lined up at home.
Yeah.
If they go up tempo, I think you could really have some big play potential for Florida's offense.
Well, you've also got the noon kickoff. It's going to be the long-term forecast is about 88 degrees is a high, 67% humidity, thunderstorms a possibility. Thoughts on Tennessee having to go down there and play at the Swamp at noon? And I ask that because we went into this season and you looked at the BYU game and everybody said, well, Tennessee's had 2 years in the weight room. We're going to be bigger, stronger, faster, better condition. You got pushed around by Georgia State. You go out against BYU and you're thinking, yeah, we're better in the weight room, and they're coming out here from those western temperatures. They're not going to be used to the heat. It looked like Tennessee wore out more than BYU last week. So is that a consideration for you guys? Should it be the fact that Tennessee's going to have to go down and play in the noon heat at Florida?
Sure. I mean, that's one thing that you couldn't find out if it's been corrected, if you can correct that, because yesterday your starters are out. So you don't know how guys who are going to have to play all 4 quarters, is it going to be another BYU Georgia State situation? And I did one other thing, talking about one thing that concerns me was yesterday I saw Chattanooga's offensive line in the first half putting Tennessee defensive linemen on the ground. And I'm telling you, Florida may not have the best offensive line. I'm going to guess it's better than Chattanooga. Yeah. And if you're still having guys who are getting pancaked by Chattanooga's offensive linemen.
Are you mocking the mocks?
Yeah.
No, I think.
Here's what I'd do, John. I'd go back and get the travel plan and everything from last year at Auburn. And we're going to follow that to the T, us against the world, however you stayed, the motel 60 miles. I'm going to follow everything we did at Auburn, even though you were behind 10-0 at one time. But you came back and played a really good game.
Be a long drive in the morning, though, from that Auburn hotel.
Well, it was 70. I mean, they stayed away. I mean, I would follow that to the T, and I think you can have us against the world mentality.
I would follow that to see if you could call Dan Mullen and get them to turn the ball over 3 times. That would even be better.
Exactly.
But it's funny, the Chattanooga thing. It gives a glimmer of hope to people, and I'm not trying to stomp out hope. I tell you what, if Tennessee goes down and puts on a good showing against Florida, we'll come back the following week. We'll talk about hope. But I'm not going to jump the gun here and say Chattanooga has changed the outlook for Florida. As Bob just said, somewhere on the line they may have question marks. They don't have as many question marks as Chattanooga would have.
Yes.
All right. In terms of keeping hope alive, up next we have the Doves. Daniel Hood and Sterling Hinton join us. They're going to be able to fight to see who were the top 3 ups yesterday, who get the most praise yesterday, and also the Vultures got to find 3 things to complain about. That's next on the Sports Source. Come on back.